This is my latest DJ template. I've been working on this for about 3 years and it's finally at a level where it's nearly going to be released. I'm putting out a beta today so I can get some people to test it and give me some feedback, because there are a lot of features here. And what it is, it's a collection of things that I always thought was lacking from a traditional DJ setup. So there's a really big emphasis on changing the sound, changing the tracks, doing interesting mixes so you can get really creative and basically do live remixes on the fly. I'm going to go through the features today, and I'm going to do it in a very casual sense. I will put out a thorough video once I do a release, just to skim through everything. There's a hold and crate section. There's an impact and riser section where you can generate transitions between tracks. We have our decks here, which have their own custom strips that do all kinds of things. We have a filler, which generates automatic fills and rolls and glitches. A sampler, so you can resample loops that you've created. We have the traditional good old dummy clips if you want to just get weird with some effects. And then over here we have the Automaton, which is something I worked on a while back, and it's I'll get into it in depth in a minute, but it lets you do really complicated LFO based things on a whole bunch of effects over time. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So let's go through it piece by piece. Over here I have, first track is the whole track. This is just where I dump tunes when I get them. So I put them in here and then I would sort them into categories, and I do that in my crate. So I've named these crate 1, crate 2, etc. But these would be, you know, techno, house, drum and bass, whatever. So usually once I put them in the hold, I listen to them and then I go ahead and put them in the crate that they belong to, like that. So this is just a simple holding area. You can of course listen to these and play them together. Over to the impact and riser session. Let me just get one of these playing. Just one of them. So over here, the riser and the faller will generate a uplifter or downlifter type effect randomly by clicking on how long you want it to last for. So let's say I want a 4 beat riser. I'm going to click on 4. That was a faller. Let's do a riser. Let's do another random one. So you can control these yourself. You can kind of mix and match and find ones that you like, or you can just click random and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a pretty good noise-based riser. And this is really handy for when you're doing a mix and you've got multiple tracks on the go and the drops aren't going to sync up, or you're looping something and you just want to create some tension and release yourself. And of course the faller is just the opposite of this, so you can just create good sounds that kind of extenuate the fact that something has just happened. And it's a lot of fun to play with as well. Let's move across to the decks. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to drag these 3 tracks that I have here, which I wrote so I don't get copy striked. I'm going to go and paste them over into a deck. Now, the first thing I'll tell you is this little X here, it'll put a stop symbol next to a scene where you've played a track. So if I was to click play here, you'll see that we now have a stop symbol. This is just, I always forget which track I've played, especially in really long sets, so this is just a good way to let you know that you've actually played a track within that scene. You can click over here and click clear and it will remove all the stop buttons. Let's go ahead and have a look at what the decks do now. Now I'm going to open this one up. I'll open up number 2 as well. So we actually have 2 on the go here, and these are modular, so you can actually drag these around anywhere you like. Oh, they're modular in the sense that the GUI is modular. I've tried to make everything pop up so you can kind of put your own layout. Maybe you just want 2 decks, maybe you want 4, but that's up to you. So let's go through some of these features here. I'll get the audio playing again. So we have our basic highs, mids, and lows. We've still got something playing over here. Let me stop that. So yeah, highs, mids, and lows, pretty straightforward. Let me just open this back up. We've got a reset all button, so that will just bring them all back up. We have a mute for each. Straightforward. We also have a slide. So if I wanted to bring the bass out gradually over time, I could bring the slide value down and then click on slide. And now this is going to automatically take it away. We could do the same and bring it back in again. So I'm also going to repitch these so they're not glitchy. There we go. So the slide's handy. There's also a slide all button. So let's say you know, you're in the middle of a mix and this was down and this was down. If you click slide all, they're all going to slide back over time, and you can change how long the slide interval is, and this is synced to the master tempo. We also have a reset all, which I told you about, negative infinity all, and a mute all here if you want to mute anything. So that's your pretty generic, you know, 3 EQ type setup. Above that we have a low pass filter and a high pass filter, so we can turn on the low pass, bring it down, same with the high pass. We have our resonance here, which is applied to both of them, and we have drive if we want to give it a bit of grunt. We also have a both filters slider here, so what this will do is if I slide it to the right, the high pass is going to open up. If I slide it to the left, the low pass is going to close. And of course these are all MIDI assignable. If I go into my MIDI mode here, you'll see that we can assign any of these to MIDI, which is pretty handy. We have here let's go for the top. We have a low shelf and a high shelf. This is just kind of like another filter, but this is just if you want to isolate something. So again, I'm thinking in mind of using 3 or 4 decks. If you just want to isolate a particular loop of a track, you can turn these on and just really kind of get a particular band of frequency. So this is a really fine tuned, it's quite a sharp shelf. And we also have a sweep here, so what this means is we can boost a particular frequency. So if I bring this up, bring this around, I've got to turn it on. So if we want more bass, we can go down here. If we want to isolate it a bit more. So again, these are kind of more sound designy tools. This is for when something's just not quite sitting right in your mix. It gives you a bit extra fine tuning. All 4 of these particular dials will do that. Let's jump across here to this filler area, because this is one of the most fun. So this will create a very short fill based on whatever you click. So say I want a 1 bar fill. Let's do it again. We'll do it again. We can specify the amount here. If it's too much, at 127. If I keep clicking 1/4 of a bar, it's going to glitch it up completely. And this is all happening in this magic over here, where I've got all kinds of dummy clips and effects doing interesting things. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes here to get this. And we can bring the amount down if it's too much. So I can just do real subtle ones here. What else have we got? Okay, let's talk about the looper. So this was something that was really taxing me for a long time, and I've finally cracked the code. This is a pretty standard looping mechanism that you would find on a CDJ, for example. So I simply just got some buttons, and you just click the time period you want, and it will continuously loop that part of the track. So let's go 1 bar. So you can see this is now just looping over and over, and this actually directly affects the audio clip. So if I was to open up my clip here and have a look, you can see that this is actually now looping on the actual clip, which means if I was to open my deck strip back up here and click exit, it's going to continue playing from wherever I started looping it from. We could do quarters, or we could do nice long 8-bar loops. Of course, we have a volume control here. Very, very important. What else? We've got an effects section. So the effects section is pretty thorough. If I was to go into the deck and actually show you the effects here, we've got a whole range of different effects going through, ones that I think would be really handy. And these ones are really fun to do on a per deck level, on a per track level. I'll just give you a quick example of some of those. If I move the effects dial around, you'll see it'll sweep through all the different effects that we can choose from. And I've got this on a dial because it can be handy to have this assigned to a MIDI knob, or if you like, you can use the buttons to switch between the two. So let's just pick robot. I'm going to bring the amount down, I'm going to turn it on, and let's just bring it up. Bring the time down. So each 4 of these effects here are relevant to whatever the particular effect you have is. So if I go to, say, a flanger, bring the time up, bring the feedback right up, bring this down. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Reverbs and convolution reverbs, nuclear mode. This is all stuff that I've spent a lot of time figuring out that I think would be handy for mixing. Let's find something. I'm going to go back to the flanger and let's talk about the LFO. So this is the LFO section up here, and this will generate a constantly moving pulse that is attached to one of these 6 dials here in the effects section. So I'm just going to turn the LFO on here, and I'm going to bring the amount all the way up. It's currently set on random, so I'm going to change the wave shape to, let's go for a sine wave. And I'm going to slow it right down with the rate. So I've got a nice, you can see it slowing down here. And you can see it's currently attached to the time. So if I was to bring the amount up with the flanger, I'm going to feed back up. And we've got different wave shapes here. We can change the offset position. This resets it from a particular offset position. We've got smoothing if we want it. So if I was to pick the random, bring the smoothing down, you see it's going to jump around everywhere and do some pretty crazy random shit. Or I can bring this up and smooth it. Let's bring the rate up a bit. We can change the destination down here. Let's put it on the amount. Let's go for a saw down. Let's bring the rate down. Let's change the effect. Let's bring the amount down. And we'll put it into sync mode. So now it's in sync mode. We can change this to however long we want, 2 bars. So yeah, having these on knobs is a lot better than using a mouse to give you an idea of how it works. So that is pretty much the deck strip in a nutshell. Now the decks all have their own individual deck strip to control these effects, and each sampler also has one of these. Let's talk about the sampler now. We've covered the filler here, so I'll close this down. Over here we have the samplers. I'm actually just going to turn the effects off completely here. Let's pick a different track. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to turn off the LFO as well. And yeah, this is all, just make sure everything's nice and neat. That looks good. Okay, so over here we have a sampler 1, sampler 2, sampler 3, and sampler 4. This will resample what's happening in the deck, but it will continue playing the original track on its original timing. So remember when we had the looper here, which is just going to loop over and over. When I hit exit, it's going to keep playing from when I started looping. However, this will take an actual sampled loop of what's playing and then start playing it over the top. Now let me open this up for you to show you what it looks like. Where is it? It's popped up on one of my screens here. Bear with me here, I've got multiple screens and it's, oh, there it is there. Okay. So this is what the sample looks like. It's really small because I've made it so that a 1080p screen can fit these 2 stacked over each other. So we have 4 sample slots that we can work with. And this is a bit subject to change. I need to work on the GUI here, but basically you choose whether you want sample slot 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then you click on how long you want the loop to be. So I'm going to pick sample slot 1. I'm going to click on 1 and it's going to start sampling a 1 bar loop for me. And now it's playing it back over the top. We're getting some phasing issues, of course, because that's not exactly what we want. But we also have the ability to do things like we can stop the clip from playing. We can start it again here. We can delete it here. And we also have a very basic 8 presets for different types of EQs that we can apply. So we can cut the bass. Let me just solo this. Let's open this back up. So that's the bass cut. That's a harsh cut, and this is a shelf cut. Sorry. So this will roll the bass off. This will shelf it off. We can get rid of the mids. We can boost the mids. We've got a high cut and again a high shelf cut. Now these are handy because what you can do is you can actually choose which one you want to automatically apply once the sample has finished playing. So as you heard before, there was quite a lot of phasing issues when I resampled that. So let's turn the solo off and let's get rid of this loop. I'm going to choose bass shelf and then I'm going to hit record on a 2-bar loop. So So now it's cutting the bass when the loop is playing back. So we're not going to have two basses clashing with each other. I don't know how creative I can actually get here with the mouse, but you can kind of see how, like, when you use these deck effects and you get something really, really crazy going on, you can kind of loop that over and over and over and do as you like with it. And of course, all of these have their own deck strips as well, so you can use these to manipulate the loop that you've recorded even further. So over to the dummy clips. I'm not going to cover this much because everybody by now probably has an idea of dummy clips. It's basically just a way of feeding the audio through a select bunch of audio tracks that have an effect each, and then you have presets here. Now we've got 16 here by 8. This is really handy to play on an Novation Launchpad or something that has an 8 by 8 grid, or a 16 by 8 grid would be ideal. Let me play a different track. Play this one here. So once I go to my dummy injector here, this will quickly turn the deck from playing out the master to feeding through the dummy clips. So I'm going to click on deck 1. You'll see that the volume's gone down and the send has gone up to F. It's going over here to the send, and then it's getting fed through the dummy clips. Now I need to trigger these. I should fix this, but I need to trigger these at the start just so the audio is completely dry. And then by using a selection of all these clips, I can start mangling it a little bit. So let's get rid of the bass. Let's redux it a bit. Bit of a reverb, maybe a short reverb. Do a sucking one. Let's put a phaser on there. And maybe a delay, dementia. And let's go for this. Bit of delay, let's go 5/16. So that's a bit crazy. I mean, that's the kind of thing you can do to your track using the dummy clips. This corpus is a little bit too much. So you can see you can have a lot of fun here, and again, it's really ideal when you have buttons that are assigned to all of these things here. And it's set up so that if you have a controller that has a control surface option, you know, where you get the colored square in Ableton Live, you can actually use that just like you'd normally trigger clips. You can use that to mangle all the sound. Let's get rid of all of them there. Now let's talk about the Automaton. So this is something I built a few years ago, which became broken in the update to Live 10 or Live, I think it was Live 11. No, it would have been Live 10. And I've finally managed to get it working. It's a beast of a machine. So what we have here, how can I explain this? We have a bunch of individual audio tracks here that have different effects on them, and these are all assigned to macro controls. And what I can do is I can go into my Automaton track, I can click on open, and I get this screen here. Now there's 8 tabs here. They correspond to the 8 different effects that we have here, and each one of these tabs has 8 individual kind of moving graphs, and these graphs will apply to the macros that are contained within the first device of those audio tracks. You can replace the effects here with things that you like. I've just put the ones that I think would be quite neat. So for example, we have a gated hybrid reverb as the first audio track. First I need to get the sound coming through, so we have another dual toggle here. So I'm going to click on one, and now the track is coming through all of these Automaton tracks. Let's get this open again. I'm going to play with just the dry wet of the reverb, so I'm going to bring this down and let's just have it come up at the end. So that's now automated. Let's bring it up here. We can do things like we can draw curves. Oops. This is made with a touchscreen in mind, by the way, so I made this because I have a Dell touchscreen laptop. We can do things like, let's bring the decay really short, just have it come up at the end. And let's bring this is the gator, let's bring it up just at the end. And if we go and have a look at the gated reverb now, you can see that all these macros are working perfectly in time to what's happening in the Automaton. Let's go ahead and just do a few more of these. I don't believe the dummy injector worked there. I think I found a bug myself. Oh, we're still sending it through the dummy clips. That's why we're getting a double up. So I'm just going to turn this off here. So now we're just getting the Automaton wet signal. Let's just play with this a little bit more because this is just so much fun. This is one of my favorite things I've ever built here. We've got a spectral time. Let's have this open at the start. We need to bring the delay down. We've got a spectral resonator. Might as well put that in as well. Bring the frequency down. Cool. Phaser flanger, of course. We've got a delay if we want it. Got a beat repeat just to do some glitchy stuff. Might as well turn it on. It's a little bit too much for this example. I'm just clicking like a madman now. And then we have a corpus if we want to get real wet. So this is what we've done with the original track over here. And of course I can now go ahead and loop this or resample this or do whatever I like. Or I could just get another track that's playing in deck 2. So there you go. That is the gist of it. Now there's a lot to digest there, and all of these tools combined, it's pretty powerful. I have a lot of fun when I play with this. Again, it's not made. It's made with people who are pretty technical in mind. Like a lot of the stuff I put out there is made to be quite user friendly from the ground up. This is a bit daunting, but if you really want to do some next level stuff with your mixing and you don't care about throwing beat matching out the door. I'm a big fan of beat matching, love mixing on vinyl, love all that, but this is a different system. Everything's pre-warped over here, and you can focus on using all of these tools to get really creative and do some next level stuff. So, okay, 22-minute run through. How can I cut that down for the main video? Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today. And again, this is now live for beta testing. I would very much value your feedback on this, and if you can break it, because I've been working on this for ages, really want to get it out there. I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of this. There you go. Have a good day.